Happy watching! Hey, this is Chetna and you're watching ChetChat, one of the largest online career and education talk shows. And this is part 2 of ChetChat's masterclass on how to improve your English. In part 1, we gave you some amazing researched and scientific tips on how to listen and how to read effectively. And this video is going to give you tips on how to write and how to speak effectively. And we're also going to give you 10 amazing tips to help you improve your English language. Okay, and now we've got techniques relating to the third language skill, which is speaking. Speaking is the true test, and the more you speak, the better you pick up. But there is this huge fear of speaking, and most of us are so reluctant that even though the words are going through our head, we try to keep our mouth shut. So tip number 1 is don't be afraid. Now, how do I actually practice speaking when I live with a family that speaks in our home or mother tongue? And what if I have a group of friends and all of us speak in our vernacular language? Now, here's what I suggest. Talk to 2 or 3 of your friends who are learning English together with you and perhaps trying for the TOEFL or IELTS exam as well, and decide that 6 days of the week you're only going to speak to each other in English, no matter how bad it sounds. And only on Sunday you're allowed to speak in whichever language you're most comfortable with. What about you form a student group and you get together every week and you take up a topic and you discuss it and you debate it. This will help you greatly for your speaking sections of the IELTS and the TOEFL. And some of the topics that are more likely to come in these exams relate to your family, your friends, your hometown, your study, your work life, perhaps your hobby or a sport that you're fond of. So pick up topics that are similar to these. Have an opinion, because in all of these exams you will be asked to express an opinion. How about you try talking to your stuffed toy? Now, I had a friend who had no one to talk to, and whenever she got lonely, she would sit down with her little pooch and talk to him about complaining about her mother or complaining about something that happened in school. But make sure you do that in English. Hello. Another speaking tip is singing. So how about if you're a singer, pick up some lyrics of some good English songs and sing your heart out. And that way, all of them will stay in your head, including the pronunciation and the accent. Some frequent mistakes that we make while speaking are, for example, between the words I and me. I find most often people say, me and my friend are going to the garden. Now, the tip I'm going to give you here is remove the part and friend. And now say, me is going to the garden. Now, typically you won't say that. You'll say, I am going to the garden. Now, if you say that, and when you add your friend, you're supposed to say, my friend and I are going to the garden. Tip number 2, the friend's name comes before I. So instead of me and my friend are going to the garden, it actually becomes my friend and I are going to the garden. And if you think it's the I that's used all the time, how about me saying, Sam gave a chocolate to I? Sounds very wrong. So Sam gave a chocolate to me. If you want to include your friend in this, then you say, Sam gave a chocolate to my friend and to me. Another tip for speaking is to record your own voice. And when you hear it again, you'll notice the grammar, the punctuation, the intonations, the accent. When you hear yourself live, we don't notice because we're paying so much attention to getting the right word across. But when you hear it, you get all the corrections back automatically inside you. Now, for example, there is a word like Australia, and it has 3 A's in it. And each one of the 3 A's is pronounced differently. Now, English is indeed a funny language. And most importantly, when you're speaking, just pick up the fear and throw it out of the window. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I have seen people sincerely trying. Even if I try to speak to them in the local language, they speak back to me in English. And persistently, even through all the mistakes, stuttering and stammering, I promise you, you'll get to perfection very quickly. Let's talk about the third language skill, which is writing. How about you start writing a small journal or a diary? Every day, just one paragraph for yourself. No one else can see it. Also, you'll start to notice that you frequently use only certain adjectives or words quite often in that journal. How about you go online and look up a thesaurus, pick up those words that you use most often. For example, awesome or beautiful. Now you find yourself repeating those words. Go online, find the synonyms for that word, and keep a diary where you note down all these synonyms. And promise yourself you're never going to use the word awesome again. So every single day, try to use a different expression. Another writing technique that will help you in your TOEFL and IELTS is when you've read something, or let's say you heard a podcast, or let's say you read a newspaper article that morning. Now, keep all of that away, paraphrase it, write all of that in your own words, and read it out to somebody. Do they understand the meaning of what you just said to them? And if you do that once a week, it's going to help you in the paraphrasing exercise of these exams. And now I'm going to give you 10 amazing tips for you to improve your English quickly. Tip number 1, try to solve your life's greatest problems using English. Now, what happens every time we speak in English, we focus so much on the words that are coming out of our mouth that we tend to stumble and stutter more. What if we focus on our life's greatest problem? And when we're talking about that problem to our friend, to our mother, to somebody else, let's do that in English. And you'll find that by diverting your attention away from the language itself, you're speaking extremely fluently. Tip number 2, accept that English is a very funny language. Did you know that the past tense of read is read? But they're both spelled exactly the same way. If the plural of house is houses, then why is the plural of mouse mice? Tip number 3, carry flashcards or cue cards with you wherever you go. So every time you're stuck for that synonym, you can take it out of your pocket and use it. Tip number 3, Post-it notes come in handy. I kind of stick them at different places in my house, and that sort of comes back to me visually as well. Tip number 5, stop being a student. Every time you think of yourself as learning English, we're always almost on the back foot. And one of the biggest problems of learning English is that we are translating from the mother tongue into English every time we're looking for the right thing to say. Start thinking of yourself as a native English speaker. Be confident within yourself and speak as though you're not learning anymore, but you're actually a good English speaker. And you'll find slowly that you stop translating, but you come directly to the word that you need to say. Tip number 6 is an app that you're going to find handy that helps you convert a lot of Indian and international languages into English. It's called Duolingo. You can download it onto your phone and it's free, and that can help you to pick up English faster. Tip number 7 is use it or lose it. If you learn a new word today, try using it today or tomorrow at the outset. If you learn 3 words a week, make sure you use them within the week. Otherwise, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Tip number 8, don't get too consumed by grammar. English grammar can be really complicated. I suggest sometimes just let go. Forget about the adjectives and the adverbs and just speak. Tip number 9, and the most important tip, is release the fear of being judged. Forget that someone's listening to you. Forget that you're making a mistake. Just focus on your goal and you'll get there. And tip number 10 is the easiest one. It's called sleep. You learn better when you sleep well. So make sure you sleep for 8 hours a day when you're learning something as challenging as the English language. And I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for watching right till the end. And if you like our work, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon right next to it, and happy watching!